Hey everybody, this is Kumparak of TechCrunch, and this is a quick look at the brand new Xbox One. Reviewing consoles on day one is always kind of weird, because consoles evolve so much during their lifespans. Take the Xbox 360 for example. 8 years, hundreds of games, and at least 2 major interface overhauls later, the 360 is a completely different console from what Microsoft initially launched. So this is just a review of the Xbox One as it sits on day one. The Xbox One takes the smooth, curvy design of the Xbox 360 and throws it out the window, replacing with something that looks a bit more like the original Xbox mashed up with the VCR. It's by no means ugly, but it's also not something that really stands out as especially beautiful. The One's new controller, however, is a thing of beauty. Microsoft has taken the already incredible Xbox 360 controller and just perfected it. The new D-pad is excellent, and the analog sticks have been redesigned for better grip and are remarkably responsive. The only downside is that unlike the PS4 controllers, the Xbox One controller uses AA batteries, meaning it's not rechargeable by default. If you want a rechargeable battery kit, it's going to be another $25 per controller. The new Kinect has been much improved as well, but it still tends to feel a little bit unnecessary. Being able to pause a video with your voice is excellent, but beyond that, using your voice to navigate around the interface just feels like a slower, more cumbersome alternative to just grabbing the controller, and the voice recognition is still iffy enough that it can be frustrating. If you're into motion gaming, however, you'll be happy to know that the gestural recognition is top-notch. It can track everything down to each finger on your hand, allowing you to do stuff like grab and poke the interface to interact with it. It's going to be incredibly interesting to see what developers can do with the Kinect now that one comes with each console. The Xbox One is launching with a pretty huge array of third-party services, like Netflix and NFL and ESPN and others like that. Apps like Netflix and Hulu all work pretty much exactly as you'd expect Netflix or Hulu to work, but things like Skype pull off really neat features like HD video calls and a really impressive auto zoom feature that automatically pans the camera to focus on whoever is talking. There's also an Internet Explorer browser built in, but it's pretty wonky and I can't really see myself using it unless every other browser-enabled device in my house suddenly just broke. There's also a built-in game DVR feature that lets you record the last few minutes of gameplay by just saying Xbox record that, and it works really well.
Xbox record that.
I actually found myself using that one far more than I expected. Games on Xbox One are, as you'd expect of a next-gen console, generally really pretty. Now, launch titles tend to look like junk when compared to games that launch just, a year later. If that's the case here, the games we see in a year will be absolutely mind-blowing. With that said, if you were hoping that this generation of consoles would be the one to kill off the loading screen, you might be a bit disappointed. Even once a game is installed to the hard drive, most of the games we saw had loading screens between levels that lasted upwards of 30 to 40 seconds each. Also a bit of a bummer is that for deeply technical reasons, the Xbox One isn't backwards compatible with Xbox 360 games. So if you've got an archive of 360 games just lying around your house, you'll need to hang on to your 360 to play them. All in all, the Xbox One is a very solid entry into the next-gen console war. But should you buy it? As someone who spends 3 or 4 hours a day on the Xbox 360, I'd say maybe not right this second. If you already own an Xbox 360 and you're not just dying to play one of these launch titles, give it a month or two. While the One is shiny and new and has a few clever tricks, the Xbox One really just doesn't do that much that the Xbox 360 doesn't just yet, and many of the biggest launch titles are slightly prettier versions of games that exist on the 360. If your old Xbox 360 is on its last leg, however, or if you just skipped the last generation of consoles, the Xbox One is already a pretty solid buy. This has been Kumparak of TechCrunch. Thanks for watching.